AI has played a major role in the digitalization of society, and it has enabled us to collect, process, and analyze large amounts of data at a faster rate than ever before. This has led to the creation of new technologies, improved business processes, and greater efficiency in many industries. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Analytics Insight podcast, where we dive deep into the innovations shaping our world today. And I'm your host, Priya Dialani. Now, we are witnessing a massive shift in how AI is simplifying software development, democratizing coding, and of course, creating new opportunities for individuals who may not have had access to this field before. But with all this advancement, there are crucial conversations around responsible AI use, ethics, privacy, and the future of work. So, what does AI's current trajectory mean for India's tech ecosystems, and how are automated tools reshaping the way we build software? And does all of this mean anything for businesses, developers, and even aspiring tech professionals? Now, joining me today is Mark Weaser, Vice President at OutSystems Asia Pacific. Hi, Mark, how are you doing?
I'm good, Priya. Namaste. Good to be here.
Namaste, Mark. Thank you so much. That was a really a sweet intro from your side. And it's a pleasure to have you with us on a podcast today, Mark. And, like I mentioned earlier, that we are going to unlock some insights from your end around the role of AI in software development and democratizing coding. But before we dive deeper into those aspects, I would like to know more about OutSystems. And I'm sure our listeners would also be keen to understand what exactly OutSystems is into, and if there's any particular specialization the company is dealing into, we would be more than happy to learn about it.
Sounds good, Priya. Well, first of all, OutSystems is a modern application development platform that focuses on helping companies to innovate through creating software. And that's a topic I'm sure that is of great interest to your listeners, India being one of the biggest software development nations on earth, and with most multinational companies having development centers in India. If you don't mind, I'd like to maybe go back and talk a little bit about how and why OutSystems was formed by our founder, Paulo Rosado, back in 2001. So OutSystems has been around for 24 years, even though it really, particularly with the advent of AI, feels like a startup. But our founder basically created OutSystems kind of right at the end of the dot-com boom. And for your listeners that are a little bit older, okay, not your younger ones, they'll remember that time frame. And at that time, most companies were implementing what we call ERP systems. They were putting in these digital kind of backbones, like SAP, Oracle. There were a lot of other vendors around at that time. And Mr. Rosado, our founder, he basically, had just graduated from Stanford University in computer science, and he was working in the ERP space and was working on a lot of projects where, it would take a year and a half to make a system go live. And that was maybe after 6 months to a year of gathering requirements. And he noticed that none of the projects were on time or on budget. And so he kind of thought to himself, there's got to be a better way to deliver software, to deliver value from a software project than having to wait so long to the end of a project. And by that time, most of the requirements had changed, and then companies would go into these upgrade cycles. So that's where he got the idea around OutSystems. Someone might ask, well, why OutSystems? And at the time, he really kind of conceptualized that software applications would be developed in what we call the cloud today. We weren't using that term back in 2001 or 2002. And they were basically the cloud were the telecom companies that were hosting, applications that could be used in a cloud type of environment. So that's kind of the genesis of OutSystems. We're kind of seen as one of the trailblazers in what used to be called rapid application development, which then kind of morphed into being called low code. And now we kind of call it modern application development platform because it incorporates low code tools, but now more than ever, incorporating AI capabilities as well. So what we basically do for someone to kind of understand is we automate the process of building software. And software is very much a manufacturing process, just like anything else. If you go back 100 years ago, most cars were made by hand. And now, if you go to a modern, Tesla, BYD, or Toyota factory, you'll see, robots building cars. And you'll have human intervention at certain points of the manufacturing process, but it's primarily automated. We're doing the same thing for software. So no longer do you have to have, a group of coders that write every line of code. We're now automating, a good part of that process. And the whole role of the software developer is evolving very quickly, particularly now with AI. So I hope that helps.
Well, yeah, that's really insightful, and it's really fascinating to hear how OutSystems has carved out its niche in this space. And given the rapidly evolving landscape of software development, I think OutSystems' role becomes even more crucial in driving innovation and even setting new benchmarks. Well, if you talk about you, Mark, I think you have around more than 25 years of experience in successfully building profitable businesses and driving revenue growth. So, we would like to know more about you as well, Mark. How has your journey been till date, and what exactly is your role at OutSystems, and what triggered your interest at OutSystems?
I think my interest in OutSystems, I joined the company in 2016, so roughly 9 years ago, and it was at that time in 2016. I've been working, even though I'm an American originally, I've been working in Asia most of my adult life, and from Japan, Korea, down through China, Southeast Asia, Australia, and out to India. So my career was built in this part of the world, and I had basically run Asia Pacific for different type of software companies that were, kind of functionally based solutions. Some of it was logistics oriented software, some of it was energy oriented software. So I saw firsthand how difficult it was to, sign up a customer, define their requirements, implement a solution, and then have that project take, a year and a half, to show value for customers. So I saw that pain kind of up front, and then in the lengthy, upgrade cycles that we would have. So kind of when I ran across OutSystems through one of the investors in OutSystems that I had worked with in another company, I was really impressed with their vision, the OutSystems vision around agile development and being able to deliver value from the software platform continuously, which was much different than what I was used to. When software used to be sold on a perpetual basis, and you would sell a maintenance package, and you would go through these lengthy, very difficult upgrades, every year and a half, 2 years. So it was very attractive to me when I saw that different paradigm around software development in 2016. And if you go back to 2016, you also had the convergence of companies starting to use the cloud as opposed to just on-prem. You saw the advent of, employees using mobile phones to do work. So you had the convergence of mobile, you had the convergence of digital transformation in general, and then you had a huge demand for developers. So this kind of all converged in 2016. So when I saw the opportunity at OutSystems, I said, this is great. I'd like to take advantage of it. So we made a major investment in Asia Pacific back in 2016 and have been expanding quite rapidly for the last 9 years. Asia Pacific is a big part of OutSystems business. We're like 23% of overall revenue. India is one of our fastest growing markets, which is logical because India is the software development kind of center of the world. So we have customers in India that are domestic customers that are growing very quickly because of the domestic market in India, whether it be in banking or finance or in manufacturing and healthcare, other industries like that, or it's the multinational companies that use GCCs or GICs, in places like Bangalore and Hyderabad and other locations in India to develop applications for their global businesses. So we've grown very quickly over 9 years. We have about 800 customers now on the platform, and I think the now integration within OutSystems of AI technologies with low code is even speeding up the development on the platform even more. So we're looking forward to the future. And our really basic value proposition is, companies have a lot of different app dev needs. They have a lot of legacy systems out there that are costing them a lot of money to maintain. And OutSystems can come in with a modern application development platform and allow them to replace legacy, build new applications using AI technologies, and get faster value for their businesses. And I think almost every CIO has a backlog of projects that they need to get installed, and they only have a limited amount of budget or limited amount of development talent. So I think that trend will continue in the future, and you're starting to see almost the entire industry try to move toward finding ways to use modern application tools like low-code tools with AI. And I think OutSystems is very much, I think, at the forefront of that change. Now, there still are, high code developers out there that are developing projects, but, companies need to become more agile and get more capabilities internally to get value for their companies faster. So we coexist, often with high code developers. We can integrate code into the platform, but AI is changing everything very rapidly, and it's very interesting to see the impact that it is having on our customers' business.
Right, and thank you for sharing your journey and your perspectives and your aspects of how you're playing a crucial part in shaping the organization's direction and success. And of course, you rightly mentioned that, I think over the years, or, in the coming years, I think it's more about, finding ways to use modern application tools with, of course, OutSystems being at the forefront for this growth and drive that we're seeing lately. You also mentioned that, India is rapidly growing in terms of in the software development space, I would say. So I think India has long been a hub for technology and software development, but I guess now with AI in the picture, it is fundamentally reshaping the landscape. From automating tedious coding tasks to improving software quality, AI is allowing developers to work smarter and not harder. But perhaps the most exciting aspect is that AI isn't, just for seasoned programmers anymore. It's making coding accessible to everyone. Like, we spoke about the low code and no code platforms, and I think they're kind of empowering the non-technical professionals to build their applications, which is eventually fostering more innovation across industries, whether it's finance, healthcare, insurance, etc. So how do you think that these AI powered tools, or the low code no code platforms, are simplifying the entire software development process?
You made 2 points there, Priya. First, let me address the first one. I think so. The term we use in the industry for what you mentioned about the democratization of development in companies, what we call citizen development, and that is, non IT users getting involved in the application development process and even using these platforms like OutSystems to develop applications. And that's clearly a trend. We have many of our customers that use our platform for citizen development. But we have, obviously, a majority of our customers use it for professional development, for really serious use cases that have a big impact on the mission critical nature of their processes. I think one of the reasons and the power of citizen development in organizations using low-code platforms like OutSystems is that it allows people that are very close to the business, that understand it, to be able to turn their ideas into applications that can, either obviously increase revenue, decrease costs, or reduce risk. And it's the people that are closest to the business that have that knowledge. I think that the pitfall with citizen development is obviously around things like security and compliance, and that's where a platform like OutSystems can come in and provide that in a governed way. So I think what frightens an app dev manager in a company, or a CIO or CIO minus one, is not being able to control the application development and the company's data in a secure and scalable way. So I think that's where a platform like OutSystems can help with governance and to making sure that those ideas are managed carefully, that data is protected, and that the life cycle of those applications are managed in a way that doesn't put the company at risk. I think that's what a lot of CIOs are also concerned around AI as well, as making sure that it's secure and that data is protected. So that's kind of the first thing. But citizen development is a very powerful tool and trend, and as long as it's governed well within a platform like OutSystems, it can be very powerful for companies. I think where it makes it easier is that with traditional development, again, you have much longer cycle times. With a modern application development platform like OutSystems that now can do mission critical apps, very complicated applications that have a lot of backend integrations. We estimate that between five times and 10 times faster to develop an application using OutSystems than writing every line of code, or even using high code with some of the tools that are out there like Copilot. So basically, speed is one of the major benefits of using a modern application development platform like OutSystems, where you integrate AI with low-code tools. And I think as important as agility, your ability to manage the full life cycle of the application development and make changes along the way, and then deliver value along the way. Because nothing will kill a software project faster than not delivering value quickly. Usually when there's a change in the company, when an app's being developed, you usually have people that champion those changes, and then sometimes you have detractors. And the faster you can deliver value, the faster that you will get support for the newer technology, and that you can get it embedded into your organization. So I think that speed and agility are really the two major benefits of integrating AI with low code. So low code, has been tools that have been around. OutSystems has pioneered the use of those tools, particularly over the last 10 years. It's really over the last, let's say, 2 years that we've started to see the use of AI agents and now agentic AI being built into the platform that even speed up that process much faster within the secure and scalable environment of the platform. So that's kind of the trends that we're seeing.
Well, yes, I think, traditionally, I think if you talk about software development, it required, it always had these long development cycles. But I think with, the integration of AI, I think we can streamline the entire process, and it kind of significantly reduces the time and expertise to build modern applications. And like you mentioned, I think speed and agility are, of course, two crucial benefits when we are integrating AI with low code and, low code, no code platforms. You also touched upon, that when we're trying to integrate AI, it's very important to ensure that the data is protected, and that the entire AI model or the platform that we are building should be secure. But, I think as companies increase their use of artificial intelligence, people are questioning the extent to which human biases have made their way into AI systems. Now, examples of AI bias in the real world show us that when discriminatory data and algorithms are baked into AI models, the models deploy biases at scale and amplify the resulting negative effects. So I think companies are motivated to tackle the challenge of this bias in AI, not only to achieve fairness but also to ensure better results. However, just as systematic racial and gender bias have proven difficult to eliminate in the real world, of course, when you're trying to eliminate that bias in the AI world, so I'm sure it's not an easy task. So how do you think that companies can ensure fairness and reduce algorithmic bias when using AI in their software development?
Very, very good question, Priya. I think, integrating artificial intelligence into the development process, as I mentioned earlier, it creates a lot of benefits, but it does raise some concerns around fairness and algorithmic biases. So I think we acknowledge that. I think there are certain things that we could do to mitigate those risks, and companies can adopt several type of strategies, I think, to do that. I think number one is they can monitor and validate model outputs, regularly assessing the AI model's results and then comparing them to real world outcomes. I think secondly, companies can maintain and update updated and relevant, databases to make sure that, those models are current and pertinent. I think that's very crucial. And I think lastly, they can implement, robust data handling practices to make sure that these ethical considerations in data handling are addressed, and some of these biases are rooted out early. So it's certainly a concern that OutSystems has, as probably as well as a lot of the larger enterprise software companies.
Well, yes, I think that's those strategies. I'm sure that the listeners would take note of it and ensure that they're trying to remove algorithmic AI bias as much as possible, because I think it's one of the most pressing concerns in today's tech landscape, and especially when it comes to software developments. Now, when we're talking about the integration of AI in software development. I mean, so I was just reading this study the other day, and it showed that 85% of job skills will be significantly impacted by ML and generative AI, while 60% will be acutely impacted. Now, when these are mapped to the top required skills by occupation, we see the popularity of jobs will be at least moderately disrupted. So rather than ringing alarm bells, that this illustrates, I think, a broad opportunity for AI to enhance customization or increase more focus on the customer demands, and ensuring adaptability through a combination of AI augmentable skills, like we need data processing and analysis, and of course combined with human aptitudes like creativity, critical thinking, problem solving. So I mean, a lot of people are talking about with the role of AI increasingly becoming more important in software development. They're saying that they have a concern that AI might replace jobs, for developers in this space. So how do you see that AI will rather augment their human capabilities instead of replacing them?
I think that those fears are in some ways well founded, and some ways aren't. I read, I think just this morning, a very famous technology billionaire claiming that, within 7 to 8 years, that we won't need doctors, lawyers, or accountants. And I'm not sure I would hold that view. I think that AI will profoundly impact all jobs. I think it will change the nature of them, and how it specifically will change the nature of developers is the way that low code has changed, the role of developers. It's required them to be much more architects, to be better, they need to do a much better job of defining requirements with the business. Eliminates a lot of the mundane tasks of being a developer. So I can kind of use an example. So we have, within the OutSystems Developer Cloud product, our newest flagship product, which is a cloud native product, we have a capability called AI Mentor, which is really an app generation capability. It's very powerful. So you can put a requirements document into Mentor, and within a few minutes, it will spit out an application. And I was in, just sales calls just recently in the region where we were able to sit with a CIO, take a requirements document. Let's say, for example, if you're an insurance company, a claims processing app, put in the company's logo, put in some specific requirements for that company, and then Mentor will spit out an application that's maybe 70-80% completed within a couple of minutes. And then we have capabilities to obviously go in and edit that, and then do all the hard work of integrating it with the back-end systems for the insurance company. So how does that impact a developer? Well, the developer doesn't have to do that 80% or 70-80%. I'm using that as a hypothetical example. It could be more, it could be less. Doesn't have to do all of that. Basically we call grunt work. They can then work on the integration. They can work on specific requirements. They can work on, finishing off the architecture of the application. So it makes them much more productive. And I don't think there's a company, certainly a major company in the world, that doesn't have a huge backlog of projects that now will be able to be addressed a lot faster. So AI will impact everyone's job, including, journalists, including managers. But it also, like every other innovation in human history, it creates other opportunities for people to do more value-added work. When the car industry automated and started to use robots, do they still have employees? Of course they do. Those employees now, are much more highly trained. They're not screwing in nuts and bolts like they were, 50 or 60 years ago. They are involved in the design of the car. They're involved in the inspection. They're involved in obviously the marketing of the car and the design of the car. So the nature of work will continue to evolve with AI. But I think that for us to say that AI will have very little impact and will just be kind of sprinkled around these business processes and workflows, I think that's underestimating the power of this technology. But at the same time, that it's going to take over everyone's job and no one will be working and we'll all be subject to robots. That's also an absurd kind of view of the world. It'll be somewhere in the middle, and again, like every other innovation, we will adopt and new jobs will be created, new opportunities will be created to use this technology. And the same goes for developers. We'll still need developers. They'll be much more productive. They will be able to be much more part of taking a company's ideas and then putting them into action for those companies to be able to gain value. They will be doing a lot less of the basic coding work that can now be done with artificial intelligence. So it changes the nature. I remember during COVID, we were all at home for it seems like 2 years, and everyone said that no one would go back to the office. Well, that's not exactly what happened, right? So we now work in a hybrid kind of mode. Some people do work at home, of course, full time, but for the most part, most people now are working in some sort of a hybrid type of environment. So I think that AI will profoundly impact us all in ways that we still don't understand. But replacing all work, I don't think it's going to happen. It's just like when the internet was invented. Did we stop watching TV? Did we stop listening to the radio? Well, we didn't, but we have multi modes of being able to get information, and I think we'll be somewhere in between. But I think it's something that definitely, as it pertains to software development, changes the role of the developer, and certainly developers certainly would be encouraged, if they want to continue to remain relevant, is to learn these new technologies and integrate them into their jobs and find ways to get more productivity for their enterprises. And then they will have, plenty of opportunity to contribute in the future to their companies.
Right, I think that's a very important perspective to explore. The fear of AI replacing jobs has been, a major topic of discussion. But I think you rightly mentioned that it will change the nature of jobs. But on the other hand, we humans would be able to do more value-added work. We'll be able to focus more on strategic and creative work, while AI is taking care of the time-consuming tasks that we human were always, tied up with. So I think. It's just that we need like a mindset shift that we really need at organizations, and like you mentioned, new jobs will be created to handle these technologies. So it's all about how we are evolving and adapting to these changes. So I think the future of AI is bright and full of possibilities. And as society continues to embrace this technology, it is crucial that we remain mindful of its impact and also address the challenges that might come along with its evolution. So having said that, Mark, how do you feel or think the future of AI is in the software development if you talk about the next 5 years? Or are there any trends that you predict that might shape the future of AI in software development? And if you could help us understand this question in context of India.
Well, India being one of the largest developer nations, and not the largest developer nation in the world, this is a very, very pertinent topic. So I think, and we're very active in the market there. So we talk to developers that work for our partners or work for our customers all the time, and we encourage them obviously to continue, number one, to continue to upgrade their skills, to be relevant, understand the direction in Gen AI and now agentic AI, and how that's going to impact their jobs. And I think that for people that are ambitious, they're going to learn that and continue to upgrade their skills. And that's going to help, not only their careers, but their companies as well, because this is happening. It's happening very quickly. And the process of software manufacturing has continued to automate, I think. I think the other thing that is really impacting business around AI is that it's lowering the barriers for competitors. So kind of in the past, if you were able to kind of gain a foothold, let's say you had a software application that that focused on, let's say, for example, managing process industries for oil and gas, using that as an example. And if you were able to kind of build, an initial customer base and build out the functionality that those particular companies wanted, you had a lead that was hard for other companies to kind of come in and challenge you. But I think with AI, the barriers for entering an enterprise software space have been lowered. So companies that are really quick and agile and nimble and listen to customers and can support customers can actually enter spaces, and your lead is no longer protected. The moats that used to exist to protect companies that were out in front have disappeared. So AI eliminates that, and so we get a much more competitive environment. I think number two. I think number three is that what's really powerful about AI, and what's really its key value proposition, is that you can turn ideas into value much faster with these type of technologies. So we're going to see increased competition. We're going to see faster timeline between shortened timeline between actually turning an idea into an application that can generate value. And I think that those are some of the things that we're going to see, and it'll have a big impact on Indian organizations. India being a highly innovative country with a lot of highly technically educated young people, and I think that's going to create a lot of opportunities for the ambitious and for those that can embrace AI technologies and apply it to new businesses, to application development, and to society in general. So I think India, being an entrepreneurial society, being a highly technical society, is going to benefit. And I think that we'll see AI being a real net positive for India as an economy and as a country going forward. Will there be displacement? Of course there will. And that will be the challenge, like with all new technologies, and how do you deal with the displacement in a managed way. But I think net India will be a major beneficiary from this, and it has really a critical mass of talent, highly ambitious, wanting to learn these technologies, and I expect India to be certainly a big part of OutSystems business, and to continue to be at the forefront of technological innovation on a global basis.
Right, and I think as AI in India is at, I think, at a fascinating crossroad. It's revolutionizing industries, making software development more accessible, and paving the way for groundbreaking innovations. But as we embrace AI, we must also remain mindful of ethical considerations, upskilling opportunities, and of course the importance of responsible AI deployment. Well, thank you so much, Mark, for your presence today and taking out the time and effort to be on our podcast today and helping us understand that the future of AI in India specifically isn't just about the automation, it's more about augmentation. It's about empowering people with the tools they need to work smarter, innovate faster, and build more of an inclusive digital economy. So, thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you with us on our podcast today, and it was lovely chatting with you.
It's been a pleasure, Priya. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mark. So, this is for our listeners. I hope this discussion has given you valuable insights into how AI is reshaping the world of technology and beyond. You can view all our podcasts on Spotify and stay curious, stay innovative, and keep embracing the future of AI. Thank you.